Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And here at the very top of the show, I have a music news for you. Music news. So this is something, Joy, you probably saw. I don't know. It's Paul McCartney. He says he's working on the last ever, as he calls it, Beatles song. Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so when they did the Beatles anthology in the 90s, actually it was 1995, they worked on 3 songs. Free as a Bird, with the surviving members of the Beatles at the time, obviously without John Lennon, but it was from a demo that John Lennon had, and also the song Real Love. But there was one other song that they didn't use. And this is the one that Paul is working on now. Now, at the time, they couldn't get John's vocal and the piano track apart, because all it was is he had a boombox on a piano in his apartment in New York, and he's singing a song and he's playing his piano, and that's all you had. And as you know, when you record things multi-track, you want to remove all the separate parts because you want to put EQ on certain things, compression on certain things. You want to do different things with the mix and edit and all that kind of stuff, and you couldn't do it. But now with this AI business, which everything is AI, you can actually extract segments from tracks completely independently by using this AI technology. So the computer knows what a male vocal should sound like. The computer knows what a piano should sound like. So that's how it's doing it,
through the knowledge, like what it assumes it should sound like? Is that how I've never really thought about it to the T on how it's doing it.
Yeah, it has a knowledge of what...
Which is why it's scary in a way, yeah.
So you can completely separate parts. So when Paul McCartney was on his last tour, he did a duet with John Lennon up on the big screen. And he was able to do that because it was from the rooftop thing that they did in Savile Row on the top of the Apple building, which is the last ever Beatles performance. But of course, there's no multi-tracks that exist of that. So using this technology, they were able to extract Paul's vocal out. And then you just had the camera that was pointing at John's vocal out. And then you had the screen just had John up on the screen, and then you could mix it and all that kind of stuff. And they're using the same technology to make this final Beatles song.
See, I mean, I find that super cool. I'm excited. I want to hear it, of course, but I'm more stuck on the idea. I guess I had never really thought about how the AI was doing it until you pointed it out to me, Tim. And see, I'm an early adapter. Tim, as my witness, he used to tell me when I worked at our last company, I was an early adapter of all things technology, right, Tim? Mm-hmm. I'm an early adapter of AI. I use AI every day in my job for reasons. I mean, I don't put any HIPAA or anything private, but I do use it to build letters, phrase things, check for grammar mistakes, things like that, right? Because I send out very important company-wide policies. And as Tim is someone who has managed all company-wide emails, nothing worse than someone hitting send to a whole company and realizing there's a giant typo in it 5 minutes later. And I type very fast, and I make a lot of typos. Tim can be my witness. There's not a sentence that goes by that Joy doesn't miss a word. So I'm a very early adapter to AI. I use it all the time. But I had never really thought about how it knew what it knew until you just said you said, Tim, and now I'm bothered by it, but I'm not bothered by it.
Yeah, because it's probably using a massive sample set of what a male singing sounds like, what a female singing like, what a piano sounds like, what a guitar sounds like, what a snare drum sounds like.
Because there's this thing about, it having humanistic qualities. I imagine the AI just sitting there thinking, going, that sounds like a guy. But now that you said there's a sample, I'm overthinking this. Anyway, Tim, I'm excited to hear the song, and now I'm concerned about AI in a way I didn't know I needed to be.
Well, there's free versions of this technology online right now. You can upload a track to it and it will strip out the parts. It won't be as good as this stuff because, whatever their process they're using is a lot more advanced than the free one you get on the web.
Like the FBI or something?
Yeah, because I think it was originally the FBI were involved in this because, they would make surveillance tapes and they wanted to remove background noise. They wanted to remove all this kind of stuff. And that's where it comes from. It comes from that kind of technology. Some of the last Beatles remasters have been put through the same process where a lot of stuff were all bounced onto one track and they wanted to separate the parts. But it's interesting that Paul really feels the need to finish this off, and he's saying this is the last ever Beatles song.
I would want to, too. Even if it's not like my favorite song or there was a reason we ditched it, I feel like for me to feel complete, if I were Paul, I'd want to do this as well.
Well, there we are. So I don't know when it's going to come out. It didn't say that. He says it's almost finished, and they're mixing it or they're doing something with it. But I'm sure when it comes out, it will be a big whoop-de-doo, as they say in the music world.
I'm sure. And if it's anything like some of the more recent things like Dolly's rock album, there'll be merch events and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as I said, we're waiting for November for Dolly's rock album. So I think we may have to do a track by track when that comes out.
Fair enough. All right. So it is my turn. Me and Tim were discussing our little scenarios and what we were going to talk about. And as always, I have a very interesting story. So we talk about, injuries and things like that happen to me pretty often. I recently told a story about a bee literally getting stuck in my hair, and I got stung twice. I woke up Monday morning, of all mornings, Tim, about 7:30. I did that thing that we all say we shouldn't do, but I did it anyway, and was scrolling my phone for about, I don't know, give or take like 9 to 10 minutes, right? While I decide I'm going to get up and go to the, start getting ready for my day. And as I'm walking out the door, Finn, my dog, was sitting on the bed, and he was like still sleepy and yawning and looked really cute. So I turned around and went to go back and like pet him. I ran at him because I was like, oh my God, look how cute you are, being ridiculous. And upon doing that, my toe went straight into a bed frame. And is now broken, not one, but probably 2 places. And so I started by Monday, talk about starting your work week out right. 7:30 in the morning, before I even accomplished anything, I broke a bone. I discovered, talking to Charlie, I was trying to figure out how many toes I've broken, and I think I've broken 7 of my 10 toes. Thankfully, never the big one, because they said that won't require surgery. But all my toes are already in pretty bad shape. And I was talking to Charlie, and he goes, and the more I think about it, I think I've been married to you. I've witnessed at least 5. So him as my witness. To be clear, I've broken 7 toes, 4 fingers, my arm and both bones, my foot, a rib, and a tailbone once.
Crikey, O'Reilly.
The tailbone was an embarrassing one that I may have been under the influence and didn't know I did till the next morning.
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, that one doesn't even count.
See, that one wasn't painful. It was just awkward because you have to sit on the donut everywhere you go. So it was more annoying. But anyway, all right, Tim, what was your next story for us?
Well, actually, before I get into my story, I was going to ask the question. So where are you with this broken toe? Can you walk? What's the deal?
I can walk. It is very, very, very bruised and gruesome, and you don't want to see it, but it has started spreading up my foot. They have told me to stay off of it as much as I can. It's buddy tape to the other toe. My doctors made me ice it, all the good stuff. Basically, they said in about a week I should go back to walking like normal, but I can walk on it. I'm just supposed to avoid it because it gets very painful.
Oh, crikey. Well,
Stupid
Joy,
toe.
that's your quota of injuries for the year. We're almost at the end of June. I think that's
Made it
enough
half.
for you.
It's the 6th month. I made it exactly halfway through the year.
Okay, so this is just a little story. This isn't music news or anything like that. But as you know, I have been doing a tour of a restaurant chain. Now, I'm not going to mention this restaurant chain. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what the deal is, but I'm not going to mention it. So we went to Galax on, what was it, Monday, because it was Juneteenth. We didn't have to work. So it was Monday. We thought, do you know what? Let's knock another one off our restaurant tour. So we go to Galax, about an hour to get to Galax, drive to Galax, and it was raining and a bit dreary. We get there, it's able to park more or less outside, go in there, and we walk up to like the host table, and there's nobody there, which is never a good sign.
No.
And there was nobody behind the bar. And we stood there for a few minutes, and then somebody came out and said, we're clearing some tables, be about 5 minutes. Okay, that's fine. I've driven an hour to get here. I can wait for another 5 minutes. So we wait for a little while. 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes. 10 minutes becomes 15 minutes. And I see maybe 2 people working there and 1 person in the kitchen, possibly. And then I noticed during the entire time we were waiting, there was somebody at the bar with a credit card in that little tray thing they give you. And they're just sitting there waiting with it. And then I look at the back of the restaurant and there's someone sitting at a table just with a blank look, not eating. And then a whole table of people get up with those little credit card things with credit cards in them, wandering around and saying, "Is this free? How do I pay? Well, what's gonna happen here?" And one of them wanders into the kitchen and said, "I don't want to be rude and stuff, but I've got to go."
I mean, I gotta get it. Then see, I am very familiar with this specific restaurant that Tim doesn't want to say. I can even see what the outside looks like. It's right on downtown Main Street of Galax, very far on the end. There's a great parking lot. You could park in front. I even know when you walk in exactly the tunnel Tim is talking about to get to the little booth where the people, check you out. But that doesn't shock me in any way because they've always been severely understaffed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame the people that work in there. They were doing the absolute best job they could, but it was an absolute catastrophe.
And it doesn't even sound like there was that many customers in the restaurant.
No, by the time that we ultimately left, we didn't eat in there, but by the time we left, there was more people queuing behind us to get in than there was actually seated.
Mm. So did you eat at a Galax, or did you just head back to Christiansburg and
Hannah saw a Pizza Hut on the way, and we thought we would entertain that, but it turns out that it was only a drive-through only affair.
Yeah.
And then on the way out, we saw a Sheetz. So we had a delicious supper in a Sheetz. And for those who don't know, Sheetz is a gas station, petrol station chain. But it's, as I might have said before, it's more of a restaurant convenience store with a gas station tacked on it than the other way around.
And for people who like me and Tim who don't eat meat, they have so many options compared to any other gas station place you're going to go.
They do. And they do these massive pretzels. They do like a massive cinnamon pretzel, which I really, really like. They do a salty one, and it's obnoxiously salted. I couldn't finish it when I had one, but the cinnamon ones are absolutely delicious. So I had one of those and a sub. Superb.
And Sheetz, if you want to sponsor this podcast, my email it. Moving along, but we'll take it.
Exactly. Well, that was that experience. I do have one other little a tale from the road, if you will. So I played a gig with Flagler Hill at a brewery just outside Boones Mill, Virginia on Saturday.
Okay.
And it was indoors. I mean, it had a shutter door that was sort of open, but it's indoors. And there's a bar area, there's a seating area, and a lot of these breweries, it's like a big warehouse, and the back part of it is where they have all their brewing stuff.
Seems to be a popular thing around here.
Yeah, because around here you can't have a bar or a pub, but you can have a brewery. It's weird.
We don't know why that is, but anyway, moving along.
Who knows how Virginia ABC laws work? But anyhow, that's what you have. So we set up, we sound checked. It was an acoustic gig. It was a little bit more low key than the regular electric gigs we play. Did the first set, pretty good, nice people, good, great venue, etc., etc. Second set, 3 or 4 songs in, playing away. And Bill, the singer, great singer. He's normally very professional on stage. Rarely ever forgets words or messes stuff up. And then he didn't sing a verse or a chorus or something, or he came in at the wrong point. And I thought, this is a bit weird. And then he starts sort of moving his shirt around that was on the ground. And I thought, that's weird. Anyhow, he sings a little bit more, and then he lifts up his stage monitor, which is at the front of the stage, and there's a snake underneath it.
He is a professional. He just handled it.
Now, under stage light, the stage is quite dim, apart from where it's lit by stage lights. It was hard to see what this snake was. Now, we found that it was an eastern corn snake because I took a photograph of it. But I can tell you, in the heat of the moment, in dim light, it looked exactly like a copperhead.
I feel like anytime the adrenaline rush happens of a snake near you, your brain instantly thinks worst case scenario. So maybe it wasn't just the lighting.
Yeah, so what happened is I put my guitar down, jumped off the stage, and I wanted to get a picture for posterity. So I'm at the front of the
Could you
stage.
imagine if it was and like it attacked your face and they were like, "What were you doing, sir?" And you're like, "Getting a picture for posterity."
I was far enough away. I was not close to this snake, but I was a good distance away from the snake. So I take my picture, and just as I've finished taking my picture, someone handed Bill a broom, and he swept the snake off the stage, and this thing hits my feet.
And you're like, "Did you kick it?" I would have kicked it like right in the air or something.
Well, I jumped back at a speed which I've never moved before in my life. Because again, everyone's going, "It's a copperhead. It's a copperhead. Kill it. It's a copperhead." And then I'm sorry for any snake lovers in the audience, but just men appeared. I don't know where these men came from, but like men with implements came and cut his head off.
Wow. No.
Well, they thought it was a copperhead in their defense.
I mean, still, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else you would do in that situation. I don't think they really had a choice.
I'm not one to be cruel to anything. If there's a spider in the house, I put it outside. You know, I don't think you should just kill it just because. But I think everyone was spooked that they thought it was a copperhead, which is why they cut his head off. And for those who don't know, a copperhead is a venomous snake, and if untreated, would actually kill you.
And in rural areas of Virginia and rural across the United States, I recently learned very few hospitals carry the antivenom for, and so like if we got like bit here, they'd probably have to transfer us to like Roanoke or something, Tim, where we're at right now. But I was watching a show about this, and it's actually a problem like in like a lot of rural areas of Virginia and the South that people get bit and then they have to transfer them, and it's because it's really expensive, and they usually only keep 1 to 2 vials around because it doesn't happen that often, and so they give them to the big hospitals first. So if you're gonna get bit by a snake, do it near a big hospital, Tim, is what I'm getting at.
Well, Boonsmill is not far from Roanoke, to be fair. I mean, like 30 minutes and you're there. But I didn't really want to test that. And like I said...
What do you mean you didn't want to test it?
And like I said, if I'd have known it was an eastern corn snake, I would have made sure it went outside. But I just jumped out the way. These men... I don't know whether I didn't even recognize these people. These just men appeared and they dealt with the snake, and that was that.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know what else they could have done in that situation. So
no, I mean,
anyway.
But there we go. Anyhow, that was a little bit of music news, a little bit of stories, a few updates, and some snake facts. So it's Joy's turn to pick the topic. I don't know what it's going to be. Now, Joy has given me some kind of disclaimer that this is going to be a fabulous episode, or it's going to be a complete catastrophe like that episode that we didn't actually release. So, Joy, it's over to you.
So the idea for this episode came to me because 3 different people, including listeners of this show, sent me a little graphic that I sent Tim one time, and it said, the closest thing you'll ever understand to what it feels like to be a ghost is when you're listening to 2 podcast people talk about a trivia fact, and they can't find, they either say it wrong or can't figure out what they're trying to say, and you're yelling back at them. So I thought it'd be fun if we played a little game that gives people the chance to yell back and see if they figure it out before Tim gets the answer.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is these are all songs from the 80s, Tim. I picked a genre you're very familiar with, and every single one of these songs is #1 hits from the 80s, 80, 81, 82, 83. So they should be mainstream music, all right?
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to describe the song, but I'm not going to say the title. I can't say the title. I can't sing it. I can't give you the artist. I'm just going to describe the song. So, for example, if the song were Yellow Submarine, I might say it's a color that goes underwater. So I'm going to keep giving you clues, Tim, until you guess it. But to keep it fair and not crazy, I tried to keep it #1 hits. So,
okay, all right. Well, let's see how this works. See, I'm pretty good at beat the intro of songs from like the 70s, sort of 70s, certainly the 80s, and even into the early 90s. I can do it. I can do it with like a second or less sometimes. But the description process, this is a new thing. So let's see how this is going to go.
Well, and it may be a fail on my part because I might be a really bad descriptor, which if I had to guess, I probably am. All right. The problem that's going to happen is I'm going to have to watch myself and not like say something that's in the title or in the song. Oh, okay. So this is a song we've talked about many times. That doesn't narrow it down. It's about a vacation area. There's water. Two people are singing it. They're country singers.
Islands in the Stream, Dolly Parton.
Yay!
Kenny Rogers.
Of course, I thought that one would be easy. All right. So this song is about alcohol, and it's a color, and the band has a really unique name. It's got like 37 remakes. Double words is another word for like rouge, and then it's alcohol.
Oh, red wine.
Yeah, UB40.
Now, interesting fun fact about red wine. Do you know who wrote the song Red Wine?
I do not.
That would be written by Neil Diamond.
Well, there's like 4 different versions of that song, isn't there?
Yeah, there are a number of versions. I think from an 80s perspective, probably the UB40 one is the one that people would know. But Neil Diamond recorded it long ago, and I don't think it was a massive hit, but sort of a popular 80s reggae type outfit. UB40's version is the best version, probably. Are you a fan of UB40?
A little bit. I've had one album from them. I think they're kind of cool sounding. I don't know a whole lot about them.
Do you know why they're called UB40?
No, I just assumed it was like an alcohol or something.
No, a UB40 is a form that you would have to fill in if you went to the job center and you was claiming the dole. And do you know what the dole is?
No. Am I supposed to?
Maybe this is a UK thing. So, like, if you're unemployed in the UK, you will get a benefit to help you whilst you're looking for another job.
I've seen it on like movies and stuff where they go with the paper. Even J.K. Rowling said she had to do it.
Yeah,
when she was unemployed.
And you would say that if you was claiming that benefit, you would say you were going on the dole.
Oh, so it's like going on unemployment, but a different kind of way of saying it.
Different way of saying it. And the form traditionally that you would fill in when you was going on the dole is you'd fill in form UB40.
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, I knew they weren't American, obviously, but I'm not sure I knew they were from the UK, the band.
Yeah, they are. They're a UK act. Anyway, that's a UB40, 2 UB40 facts for you.
All right. So when you pick up the phone, you're doing what to talk to somebody? You're
picking it up. You are communicating. You are.
You're dialing someone up. You said, "Hey, I need to."
Hello. I just called to say I love you.
Okay. No, it's not that. Oh God, there's not a better way of saying it. At what point do I give up and just say it? So it's the singer was kidnapped by we learned this on the podcast, that one guy, the serial killer back in the 60s.
Debbie Harry. So it's a Blondie song.
And
talking on the telephone.
What is the song though that she's doing when she's talking about picking up the phone so that you can
call me?
I gave a little bit of a sound there. God. I knew this was going to be a funny one. There was somebody screaming at you, Tim. Call! She's
Though I think I may have told this on the podcast before. You know about Penn Jillette and Debbie Harry at the State Fair, and if you haven't heard this on one of our previous episodes, Penn Jillette of Penn and Telefame went out with Debbie Harry for a period of time. And they went to like a state fair. And back in the 80s or like 70s, 80s, you could go into a booth and you could sing along to a track, and then they would cut it live onto a 7-inch single. And he was so entertained by the fact that they had a Blondie song, and they wanted Debbie Harry to go in and sing the Blondie song and get it on a record. Now, she was not about this, but in the end, he badgered her so much she went in and did it.
I mean, that's cute. I'd be curious to see how it sounded in comparison.
I mean, I don't know how well it was recorded, but it's just such a funny thought, really.
I know. I would probably be like, you have to do it. And then, but on the flip side, if I were her, I'd be like, I don't want to.
No, I don't think she didn't want to do it. It was a night off. I mean, she
Yeah.
didn't want to have to perform.
I kind of get it. If you sing all the time, you're probably like, no, I'm fine. Thank you. All right. Now that I laughed so hard when Tim finally said call it. All right. So these people, it's when a tower goes up, they're doing what to it, Tim? Or like if you're doing Legos, you're
building or construction.
Yeah, building. So these people built something and they like to fly around.
We built this city, building a bridge to your heart.
We built this city. I was doing a flying hand motion and Tim was looking at me like I lost my mind. Like I couldn't just say they're flying. I had to do a hand motion too.
So you're saying this is starships. We built this city.
Yes, I am. Now that I can breathe.
Fantastic. And maybe I should just give a fun fact with every one of these songs. I don't know. So starships, we built this city. It is wrapped up as a very happy 80s pop song. Now, it often appears on lots of lists of the worst song ever and all this stuff. But I remember when it came out, I bought it on a 7-inch single, and I still love that song to this day. I think it's an absolutely fantastic song. And it appears on every 80s compilation, and I don't know why people rag on it so bad. It is a really good song. But as I said, it's wrapped up in this happy-go-lucky, happy pop song, major key type thing. If you listen to the lyrics, they're incredibly dark, and it is a scathing attack on their record company. It's like, who hides the money underneath the bar? Who rides the wrecking ball with the 2 rock guitars? You tell us you need us, but we're the ship of fools. We're looking for America, coming to your schools. And each of the whole thing is like, it's a scathing attack on their record company.
Built in a very poppy way that nobody ever noticed. I don't understand why people hate it so much as a song. I don't find it to be that bad.
Like if you Google "We Built This City" worst song ever, it appears on like a million internet articles where people are telling you it's the worst thing ever made.
I just don't see it. Like there are so many other songs I would pick over that one, Tim.
I know. And I like it though. That's the thing. I
think it's fun. I mean, I never really associated it with the worst song ever until you told me that. We talked about it once before, and I think I was shocked then too. But All right, so let's see here. When you buy something, you become the
owner of a lonely heart. Yes.
Yes. You went straight into it. Yay! Owner of a lonely heart. Much better. Anyway.
Yeah, that is classic Trevor Rabin era, yes. And that song has a very beautiful, clean chorus guitar part in the middle, and also famously appears in a Knight Rider episode, which makes it even better.
What episode did it appear in, Tim? That's the question.
I think it's a season 2 episode. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Guys, it's a body double. Tim didn't know the answer. This is not Tim. It also has that video where they're like wearing suits, remember? Like Owner of the Lonely Heart, and they're all like staring at each other. Mm-hmm. That's all I remember. But
it's classic MTV era. So the video production would be over the top because everyone was sort of making videos to appear on MTV at the time.
So the band, they're English, right? Yes, is English.
Yes, they are.
Were they bigger? Did they have a lot of other hits in the UK, or is it because in America we kind of associate them with only a few songs?
Yeah, they were a big progressive rock band, mostly in the 70s. They had a song called Roundabout, which you may have heard. There's a couple of other ones they play periodically on US classic rock radio, but for a lot of people, they would probably only know their 80s output, and the pinnacle of their 80s output is Owner of a Lonely Heart.
I was just curious if there was because Steve Howe, I know his name, but I can't tell you a lot about him besides he plays the guitar. Yeah,
Steve Howe is a fabulous guitar player, plays a Gibson ES-175 typically. And another fun fact about Steve Howe, the Queen song Innuendo?
Yeah.
Like the bit in the middle that's sort of like medieval type thing. There's like a wandering minstrel acoustic guitar. That's Steve Howe.
Huh. I wonder how he got that gig.
Because when Queen were recording Innuendo, they recorded some of it at Mountain Studios and they recorded some of it at Townhouse in London. And I think the bits they were recording at Townhouse, Yes or Steve Howe were in the studio next door recording something else. And Steve Howe's a friend of Brian May's. He's like, hey, we're recording this track. Can you come and play this acoustic part? I'm not really getting it. It's not really sitting well with me. He's like, yeah, I'll come in. And there you go. It's on the track.
Wow, I didn't know Tim would know to that extent when I asked the question. I should have guessed it. I mean, I guess I don't know. I wouldn't have thought of them as friends, but it makes sense that the Yes and Brian May. All right, moving along. I overthought that whole series. Okay, so it's not a boy. It's not he. It's
she.
And she's doing something to you that seems insane or makes you insane. You're becoming.
When
you're in your car, you're doing this. You're using the steering wheel.
She drives me crazy. The Fine Young Cannibals.
Tim, the amount of times you said she. She's. My brain won't figure it out. Okay. It's not a complete fail. I'm hoping that everybody's screaming at Tim in their car right now before he gets it.
Yeah, she drives me crazy. It's from the Fine Young Cannibals album, The Raw and the Cooked, which I actually have a copy of. It's actually a really good album. Yeah. I mean, they had a few hits before they got really big with that album. But She Drives Me Crazy was probably their huge breakthrough hit. And I remember that being in the charts when I was at school. And in fact, I remember winning a Capital Radio phone-in where you could win 4 CDs or 5 CDs or whatever it was. Yeah. And that was one of the CDs I requested. Anyhow, I rolled forward 3, 4, 5 weeks and I never got my CDs from Capital Radio. And I was like, well, this is weird. And it was a period of time where we lived above a TV shop. And the postman would, rather than waiting for the shop to open and bring it in, because it didn't have a letterbox, they would just dump it on the doorstep. And someone was stealing the mail. So someone stole my CDs from Capital Radio. So I called them way after the fact. Then they didn't need to know that some mail had gone missing. And I said, hey, I never got my competition thing. And then they sent replacements.
That's cute. I mean, if you're the person who is stealing Tim's mail, very rude. I don't know how they would happen to be listening to this podcast, but don't steal mail.
No, in England, I don't know what I'm sure you get into trouble, but I don't know quite to what trouble. Here, you steal someone's mail and it's a felony.
Yeah, because for those who don't know this or are not in America, never heard this, it's because the the mail system is controlled by the federal government, so therefore it's a felony if you do anything to it.
Exactly. And for our listeners outside the United States, how would you describe a felony?
For our listeners outside of you were asking me, I thought you were asking them. A felony is whenever you go, so there's 2 types of charges. In America, you can either get a misdemeanor or you can get a felony. Misdemeanor is the smaller thing. So things like, just small, maybe hit and run. I don't want to say hit and run. That's not a great example of something small, Joy, like a break-in or something like that, or like trespassing or skinny dipping. Usually don't amount to much. Usually you just pay a fine. There's not any credit. But because, so a felony is the next step up. And anytime you get a felony, it's usually you go through a federal court instead of a state or local court. And you can't vote. It takes, most likely you're going to get prison time. Like, it's just the more extreme version. Now, it's not always, because you can have state felonies and you can have federal felonies, and you could have, I don't think you could have misdemeanors at the federal level, but generally that's kind of how it is. It's just the more extreme version.
Yeah, and you would maybe struggle to get a job if you had a felony. You couldn't vote, couldn't get credit, you couldn't purchase firearms if that's something you wanted to do. And also, I believe you can't travel because a lot of countries won't have you if you have a felony on your record.
Like Canada, from what I understand, Canada's a big one. You can't go to Canada if you have a felony. Now, you can eventually get it expunged over time, but that's hard. You have to write your governor. And I think that's only at the state level. I don't think that's at the federal level you can do that.
Well, there we go.
Right.
Well, that's U.S. law explained.
I thought Tim was asking the audience for a minute to what did they think a felony was, and I was like, wait, no, Tim's asking me. That's why there's that awkward pause. I was like, what? Oh, me. Not felon, but yeah, that was probably the worst version of what a felony is. It's somebody who's like very legal up. It's probably like that was a terrible, terrible description.
Well, yeah, you gave the gist of what that means.
Basically, a misdemeanor won't ruin the rest of your life. A felony will.
There we are. That's all we need to know.
Anyway, all right. So our next song is okay. So it's not East. It's
West.
not the beginning, but it's the
Go West.
no, not the beginning of something. You're at the
West End Girls by the Pet Shop Boys.
Yes. I'm like, not the beginning. I love how I thought he was going to go, Wild Wild West next. I was like, no, stop focusing on the West. Well, actually, yeah, West End Girls. That's the song. I was going to say West and then not the beginning, but and hoping Tim was going to say Ed, and then I was going to say not a girl, but yeah. Anyway, not a boy, but there you are. Do you have a fact about West End Girls?
Well, I have a fact about the Pet Shop Boys. So I used to really like the Pet Shop Boys, and maybe that's some 80s music that I do need to rediscover because it's been a while since I've listened to any Pet Shop Boys. I do have the 12-inch of their remix album, Introspective, which is actually really good. I've listened to that many times, but their album Actually, I can't remember if this comes from Please or Actually, but it's one of their early albums that West End Girls comes from. And my fact is I used to work with a lady when I worked at Nationwide Building Society. She was a financial consultant there. And she had, I think she told me it was her 21st birthday party in some nightclub somewhere.
Yeah.
And her and her friends were sitting there and they were having a party type stuff. And, you know, I think it was very clear it was her 21st birthday party and maybe there was balloons or cards or something like that. And look, she didn't realize the Pet Shop Boys were in the house. They were somewhere else in this club. Anyhow, a bottle of champagne comes over with a little card on it, and it says "Happy Birthday" from the Pet Shop Boys. And the bartender that brought it over said, "Oh yeah, Neil Tennant?" And I forget what the other guy's name is. They're in the house around there, so they just sent you a bottle of champagne over for your birthday.
Huh? That would be. Did she keep the card forever? I wonder.
I don't know. I haven't spoken to her for probably 30 years. I have no idea.
I would probably keep it around. That would be something I'd find pretty cool. Of course, I wouldn't even know if people would believe me if I told them it happened. They might be like, yeah, you wrote that card.
No, I mean, I believe her. She told me. Why would she make that story?
I know, I'm just saying. But I wonder if she had a sash. She may have had a sash on Tim. That might be how they knew. I was trying to decide. You said balloons or cards, but it could have been a sash as well.
It could have been a sash too. Who can honestly say?
And for those who know, not that mattered. I was just thinking about 21st birthdays. But for those who don't know, 21st birthday in America is the first time you could drink. So that's why it's significant to the story, because they were sending her a drink.
Well, it's irrelevant for the story because in the UK you can drink when you're 18.
Was she in the UK? Dang it. Never mind. I thought it was important that she was her 21st birthday. Like they gave her a 21st birthday present. Never mind.
Well, no, the funny thing about 21st birthdays is that you can do everything at 18 in the UK, but 21 is still sort of celebrated as a milestone.
I mean, I wonder why. I guess it's just kind of stepping more to adulthood. In America, it's 21st. Well, 18 to get cigarettes and to vote, 21 to drink. And then 25, you can finally get your car insurance and rent a car. Then after that, it's all downhill.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, it's funny. I forgot about that. You have to be 25 to rent a car.
But I realized, do you know why it is, Tim? Because the car insurance goes down for the rental companies. I figured out because that's when it reduces for you, too.
Well, there we go. Well, I'm glad we've cleared that one up. I mean, I just thought this was going to be a kooky game we was going to play, but we've covered felonies, car rental insurance. It's all going
debated
on.
Whether a girl had a sash on, like that mattered. I'm sitting here trying to picture her 21st birthday. No, it's because every time I've done that, like if we've had a birthday or like somebody's getting married, we always buy them a sash. Mm-hmm. And then everybody buys you drinks. My best friend wore hers on her anniversary again, and she kept getting drinks each time.
I've never worn a celebratory sash ever.
Well, we're gonna have to get you a bright pink one that like sings "Happy Birthday" and send you to all the bars.
Well, I mean, in a year and I don't know, 4 months' time, I will have a new digit at the beginning of my age. Maybe this is my time to wear a fabulous sash.
I will get you a sash, Tim, as long as you promise to take pictures of you all over wearing it.
Oh, I'm sure I'll be playing a gig somewhere near then. I'll be wearing my birthday sash with pride.
I wonder if people would like send you drinks on stage if you were wearing it. Be like, this is for the guitarist.
Well, they could be sending me drinks on stage, but I certainly don't drink when I've got my car, and I prefer not to drink when I'm playing a gig because
just hand them off to people behind you.
It's just a sloppy mess. I think I've done one gig drunk, and it was terrible.
I would be scared the next day looking back, wondering how it went. Because, you really wouldn't have any... In your mind, you might have sounded great, but did I really? Did I actually sound good?
No, I think I'm quite self-aware when it comes to playing. And if I mess something up or it didn't sound good, I'd probably be the first person to tell you. And I can tell you that drunken Rough Justice gig in the Black Dog in Staines was terrible.
So drinking does not make Tim play better.
Absolutely not.
All right. So it's not Liquid Courage. Okay. Next weird, wacky song that I'm going to give Tim. I'm trying to think of something good. All right. Oh, that would be hard. What goes around comes around, or somebody gets what they're supposed to be getting. Or
Culture Club, Karma Chameleon.
There you go. Which is a great song. I love Culture Club.
Yeah, I love Culture Club too. I've got the album that comes from, and it's absolutely superb. As we all know, Boy George famously appeared in an episode of the A-Team. The episode is called Cowboy George, and it is such a shoehorn. It's like, how can I shoehorn an incredibly popular current pop act into an A-Team episode? And that's exactly what they did. It doesn't really fit, but it's so absurd. It's brilliant. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but if you can, I think it's a season 4 episode, and it's called Cowboy George. Highly recommend it. He plays 2 songs in it. And the funny thing is as we know, probably for worse, America is a very conservative country, especially in a lot of areas. And this is set in like a cowboy bar in the middle of absolute nowhere, full of like country people wearing cowboy hats. And up on stage is full on 80s Boy George with his band. And they're singing, I don't think they do Karma Chameleon, but they do one of their other current hits at the time. And they're playing up on stage, and everyone in that bar thinks it's the best thing they've ever seen. That's what's more absurd than anything.
They're like in a country western bar.
Yeah, a country and western bar in the 80s. Things may be different now. Maybe in certain, probably people are a lot more progressive, and that's great. And I think that's fantastic. But you look at it in the context of it being in the 80s, in the middle of nowhere, in a country bar.
And Boy George being Boy George.
Yeah, Boy George just being regular Boy George.
Yeah, it gets funnier the more I think about it.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd. And then the other thing is the video for Karma Chameleon.
Yeah.
Boy George, obviously, with Culture Club and everything like that. The bass player is not the bass player in the band. And you would know this from pop-up video because the bass player got drunk the night before and had a terrible hangover. Yeah. So he sent his brother in that looked a bit like him.
That is a very pop-up music video fact if I've ever heard one. I mean, maybe the brother plays pretty well too then, I guess. I
mean, I don't even know if he played bass, but he looked a bit like him.
He didn't play the entire time. He's just staying there. Okay, let me pick another one. I have so many songs. I'm trying to pick the good ones that I think are... I have no idea if Tim's going to get this, but I'm going to try it. Okay, so it's a power tool. Okay. Well, I guess it doesn't have power. I don't know. I don't think it has power, but it's a tool. There's no electricity hooked up to this thing. It's kind of like a jack, or you use it to put things
sledgehammer. Peter Gabriel's sledgehammer.
There you go. I'm like, wait, that doesn't have power to it, Joy. It's just a big hammer you swing.
Well, you probably have a jackhammer type thing that might have some kind of pneumatic action.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it would be pneumatic. It would be driven by air. It wouldn't be driven directly. I suppose ultimately it's driven by power, but the actual action of a jackhammer is
technically
air.
It's all kinetic energy, Tim, even if I throw it down. Fine. I was like, wait, there's no electricity. Tim's staring at me going, wrench? Wait, no.
Well, of course, with Sledgehammer, how could you forget that amazing video?
Oh, I want to look at a picture of it. Hold on. We talked about this once before. Let me I just like to see it.
The interesting thing about the video is it's done in like claymation stop frame animation, much of it. But then Peter Gabriel himself appears in it as the sort of the claymation animation is being done. So as you know, in film, it's 24 frames a second. So if you ever see a claymation or an animation type thing, for each second, there are 24 frames. So if you're having some kind of thing that you're animating, you're making 24 discrete movements of that to make up 1 second of what you see. So you've got Peter Gabriel sort of laying there and then moving all this stuff around him. And, his face is flexing because they've had to take 24 frames as they're moving this stuff around. It's cool. It's really cool to see, though.
So Charlie is really into the idea of claymation and, different where they have to do all the very precise movements at certain speed. You know what I mean? It's like, And I'm looking at this. The reason I wanted to bring it up when Tim talked about that is the only thing that I remember off the top of my head is like the train going by him because that's like the famous picture.
Yeah,
but like for those who don't know, like at one point, like he's looks like a jungle with a giraffe behind him, and then his hand becomes like a clay sledgehammer, or like he's got like his head breaks open and there's like little hearts around him that are in clay. There's a scene with like fish, so. For each one of those little pieces, you're saying 24 times, there's like 10 different sets that they probably used too. So I wonder how long in total it took to make the video.
I don't know. As I said, every second that passes on that video is 24 separate frames that you would have to discreetly capture and move all those things around.
Because there's like, those are just the ones that I see when I, Googled it. But I mean, there's other images too. Like I said, there's probably like 17, 20 different things they show in the video. Doesn't he become like fruit at one point?
I think he does. Yeah, he does. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's another one that I'm not thinking of. I watched that video many times and like, I wonder if he's laying down though. Is he laying down or do you think he's standing up? I always wonder, I thought maybe they laid him down to make him more comfortable.
I would hope that Peter Gabriel was comfortable throughout the entire filming process. That would be my hope and dream, Joy.
Not like Tim's like, I wasn't there. I don't know if they laid him down. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, let's get Peter Gabriel on the show. I mean, let's not talk about his career with Genesis or his extensive solo career or his work that he's done with world music or his songwriting or production or, in fact, some of the innovations that he had at the very beginning of the internet.
In this.
Yeah, I want to know, when you made the Sledgehammer video, Peter Gabriel, were you comfortable?
I just feel like they would have laid him down if it takes that long to do some of this stuff. Wow. Okay, I'm going to the next song. I'm going to make it a hard one. Okay. Okay. So our next song is. Okay, I don't know how to do that. When people are dancing around 70s, they use this term a lot.
Boogie Wonderland.
No.
Shake your body down to the ground.
No. Far, they would say maybe far out, and then this word, and they'd have peace sign fingers up. It's a term that you would see hippies use a lot. This is pretty.
Fly. I don't know.
Okay. So it's a type of thing. Okay. When a couple gets married, you hope that they're in
holy matrimony.
It's groovy kind of love. I can't breathe. Okay, anyway, so the song is Groovy Kind of Love, everybody. Tim, you got a Phil Collins fact for
I liked him when he was in Miami Vice. That's anything I can think of.
Literally every word but groovy. Tim named every song kind of related possible. Oh, okay. That one's gonna, Tim, I'm never gonna let you live that one kind of down. All right. Let's see. So the opposite of sad would be
happy.
And someone's very easygoing. They don't want you to
shiny happy people.
No, they're saying it's okay. It'll all work out.
Happy Talk by Captain Sensible.
No. What's another word for like you're upset about something, you keep thinking about it constantly. It's on your brain. It won't go away.
Memories.
It's like anxious. Okay.
Happy.
Oh God, I've already forgot what I'm trying to say now. Okay. Stop, blank, go, please. Stop, blank. The word that's in that song right there that I'm saying blank for.
I don't know. I pass on this one. What is it?
Don't worry, be happy.
Oh, by Bobby McFerrin.
Tim's like, you named like every other song that had the word happy in it but this one. Oh God. I was like, but it was Stop, Don't Go, Please. That was the song. She says don't right there. That's the only thing I could do because I can't say any of the words.
This is a very interesting song. This is completely a cappella.
Mm-hmm.
And every sound you hear on this is Bobby McFerrin. He's doing all the backing vocals. He's doing the rhythm part, all like the harmony lines. Every piece of instrumentation you hear is Bobby McFerrin's voice. And I think he made a whole album of that. But I don't know. But I mean, to some degree, it was a novelty hit. I don't know whether Bobby McFerrin had a wider career after Don't Worry, Be Happy.
I think he has a very, he has a cult following, but only for a various type of specific people in the reggae world, from what I understand now. He does a lot of reggae music. He still does like a lot of concerts, and things like that in that film. So I think there is like a cult following to him, but I can't name one other song that he has.
No, really. I mean, it's very niche, isn't it? I mean, having one sort of quirky a cappella song is fine, but do I want to listen to an hour of that? Probably not.
Well, and he has a nice voice. It sounds fun, but part of the Don't Worry, Be Happy thing is the way it's almost spoken word. He does have nice pitch, you know what I mean? He stays on key and everything, but it's not really a hard song by any stretch to sing. And I thought what sold it is his personality more than the song. So unless every song on this album does that, then I would get bored really quick.
And I think it was featured in a film. I think that's maybe where it came from. I think it was a big 80s film. I'm not entirely sure, but I have a feeling it was.
Probably. I mean, it's been used in TV shows and films since the beginning, since it came out. So there's probably a reason for it to kind of, set whatever kind of mood they want.
That's true. And I wonder if he's making good residuals from it. Because you know what? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was the song My Sharona by the Knack. Mm-hmm. And the two chaps who wrote it, they've been living off that ever since. And they license it to commercials, they license it to films, they license it to all this kind of stuff, cover versions, you name it. And the guy, they said to him, they said, well, they were interviewing one of the songwriters, and you would assume the other songwriter who wrote it with him had a similar kind of deal. And they said, well, what are you making from My Sharona? And he said, well, I'm not going to tell you exactly, but he said it's six figures. And he said it's between $100,000 and $200,000 a year I make from that.
Oh my God. I always wondered that about one hit wonders. Like, did they just make enough off of one song? They never have to do it again?
Yeah, I think it's not quite as seamless as just like sitting back in his chair smoking cigars and the money's rolling in. I think it's a business with the licensing and the various work he has to do. But I mean, he's not working a 9 to 5 job like we are, but he's making probably $150,000 a year off My Sharona.
That's crazy. It makes sense, though, because I've heard that song used in commercials, reference, anytime something that sounds close like Sharona, they'll make it My Corona or something. You know what I mean? So I'm not surprised. It's also got that kind of upbeat, peppy song that like sound to it that they like in movies and TV shows.
Yeah. And the lady who it's written about, Sharona, she has a real estate business. And I think the web address is like mysharona.com or something. And, she sells real estate. That's what she does. But I looked on the website and there's a whole section about how she was the person this song was written about.
That's cool. I mean, you might as well use it to sell yourself, right, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, she's using that connection to further her business. Good luck to her.
Fair enough. All right, let me torture Tim with another song. Okay, I'm going to go easy on you this time. Let's see. Because the last two didn't go so well. It's another word for like hi.
Okay, top.
No, like hey.
Sky. Oh, no, hello. Oh, just hello.
Yes,
Lionel Richie's hello.
Lionel Richie, yeah. Yay.
Yeah, that is a very beautiful song. The guitar break in it is especially nice, and I forget the name of the chap who plays it, but it's very iconic.
See, for me, when I think of that song, I just think of because I'm always listening for the singer and Tim's always listening for the guitar. I always instantly just think of his opening, hello. Like, it's so perfect. It's just like, and he knew that like a good opening on a song, like our girl Shania Twain, she knows a good opening to music can make or break a song.
Absolutely. She knows the opening, and then she has the craft of Mutt Lange, who is able to take that idea and make it into a perfect whole. And
there's actually a documentary I sent Tim. It was on Vice, and it was just a short like making of the song or whatever. And it was Me and I Feel Like a Woman was the song they were specifically talking about. But they went through and they did like a whole little piece on Shania. And that was actually something she was really good at, was doing those little intros. She talked about like like the up, 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 or like Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Of course, that one's iconic. But there's others that she's done that she says that are like, hey, Billy, do you want to party? That party song. She talks about she loves to write those little pieces, and she feels like those hooks make all the difference in the way her like singles are put out.
Yeah. Well, there we are. As I said, you take the ideas and the songwriting prowess of Shania Twain, and then you mix it in a big, like, stirring pot with Mutt Lange and his production techniques, and the fact he's singing all the backing vocals and doubling her vocal all the way through it. And that's what you get. You get the world of Shania Twain.
Oh, Mutt Lange. All right. I think it's funny that, like, I barely heard his name 10 times before we started this podcast. And now it's like every time I turn around, his name's on something. I'm like, where did he come from? He was always there.
Sadly, we will never get Mutt Lange on this podcast because he never, ever gives interviews.
Darn. Well, Mutt Lange, if you want to make an exception, my number is... Anyway.
And we would like to know whether you're comfortable.
I'm never gonna live that down. I'm genuinely wondering because, like, I would hate to have to stand there for as long as it took to record that video. And he kind of looks like he's laying down. Okay. Anyway, that was me banging my table, so Tim doesn't have to cut that out. All right, let me find another song.
What you got?
You're not running, but you're
walking.
Country in Africa? Up on the... Oh, God, they're going to come for me if I don't know. I know it's on the northern part of Africa.
Egypt?
Yes. Walk, Egypt.
Walk Like an Egyptian by our friends, the Bangles.
Yes.
With Susanna Hoffs, obviously, fronting the Bangles. And that is a very... quirky song. It's a kind of a novelty hit in some degree. But I think it's a favorite from back in the 80s. It was a huge hit at the time.
Oh, yeah. And that one was one that I definitely saw on pop-up music video 1,000 times. Tim made that reference earlier. I mean, I like the Go-Go's and I like the Bengals. I don't know which one I like more. Tim's the Bengals. He's a team Bengals. But I mean, you got Manic Monday, Walk Like an Egyptian. But I think that Tim's right. When I did my Women Who Rock part 1 and part 2 episode, because there were so many, Suzanne Hoff's come up a lot as like a known person who really is a talented musician and not just, a pop piece like this song.
Yeah, the thing is about Susanna Hoff, she's a great guitar player, but she's also a great songwriter. Yeah. As well as being a great singer and performer. So she's the total package. And she also had a signature Rickenbacker guitar at the time.
I mean, I'll take Tim's word for it. But she did. She came up as and she was behind a lot of music that I didn't know she had written and things like that. So
yeah, I'm Team Susanna Hoff. She has a new album out and she has a book out, and it's a work of fiction. It isn't just like an autobiography or anything.
All right. So this one is special, Tim. This is one you should get. It's something you will know, hopefully very quickly, because it's related to something you love. That's a weird description, but anyway. So it's from the state of Florida.
Okay.
It's a place in Florida, a big place with beaches.
Kennedy Space Center. Walking on the moon.
It's known for having a very big Hispanic population. It's a city in Florida.
Miami Vice.
Yes, it's the theme for Miami Vice.
Hey! by Jan Hamar, how you say it? Jan Hammer.
So apparently this song, I was surprised to know it was a number 1 worldwide on 9/7/1985.
There we are. And I remember when it was out because I had it on 7-inch single, and I believe it was a UK number 1.
Is it commonplace for themes to be put out as regular music too, or was it a song before it was a theme?
No, it was most definitely just the theme from Miami Vice. I think you'd find, certainly back in the 80s, there was a lot more, certainly a lot more novelty hits. But you would have a lot of crossover with popular TV shows where they would release the theme tunes as songs and they would chart. The theme from Miami Vice being one of them.
Well, and I know Love Boat, the show, that song. And then there was one that's like an instrumental from the 70s that was super popular for the same reason. I just haven't seen that. Because, obviously, the Remembrance, I'll Be There For You is a famous one that was also, but that was a song before it was a theme, you know what I mean, for a show. So you have the theme tune to Moonlighting by Al Jarreau. That was a hit. Yeah. That's the one I think that's what you're talking about. That's what I was talking about. I know exactly. Yeah. Because I remember there was one, it might be the one I'm thinking of. But I guess I never really thought about that. I mean, Hill Street Blues, that's one. It was a popular hit, I think, outside of the TV show. I don't know. I never thought about it, Tim. You gave me a piece of knowledge I didn't realize.
And the theme tune from The Greatest American Hero, Believe It or Not. Are you familiar with that song?
All I can think of is Believe It or Not, I'm walking on
That's
it.
Yes, that one. Yeah. Yeah, there was a superhero TV show called The Greatest American Hero. And the premise of the show is this ordinary school teacher dude, found a suit that was left there by aliens. And when he put the suit on, he had superpowers. He could become invisible. He could fly. He could do all this kind of stuff. And the first season of it was the hilarity of it because he didn't know how the suit worked. So he'd always crashing into trees and doing crazy stuff. And it was slapstick and what have you. And then in the second season, he hooks up with a guy from the FBI. Actually, I think the FBI dude was there in the first season as well. But then he also gets the instructions for the suit at some point during this. So at that point, it just becomes a regular superhero show. And I watched the whole thing, but towards the end, it becomes very formulaic.
Did it jump the shark?
Just a little bit. And then they came out with a pilot of The Greatest American Heroine, where a lady finds the suit or he passes the suit on to her. And I've tried to find it. It's incredibly hard to find. It was on a box set as a bonus, scene type thing, this pilot. And it's the only place you can find it. I've never been able to find it online or anything. And I've heard it is appallingly bad. But I just want to see it just to finish the holy trinity, if you will, of The Greatest American Hero.
No, I've definitely heard that song a few times since I sang it just a few minutes ago, but I don't know that I knew it was a TV show. But now that I'm listening back to it, it sounds very obvious that it would be for a TV show.
Yeah, Hannah knows it because it appears in an episode of Seinfeld because George Costanza has it on his answering machine. And she knew it only from the Seinfeld reference, when in fact they were referencing the Greatest American Hero TV show.
And I only know it from listening to the radio with my parents or something.
Well,
I don't
there
know.
we go.
Oh, I guess a good theme song makes all the difference, Tim. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. So anyway, Joy, let's do one more of this this game. I suppose you call it a game.
I don't know what we're gonna call it. All right, so let's pick a good one. So the monarchy does this. They are supreme.
Marching, knighting people.
No, what do they do with an iron fist?
Rule.
Okay. And all the people rule because. So not another word for earth.
Rule the land?
No, the earth is called what? But the whole earth it's a planet. It's a
world. Everybody
yes.
wants to rule the world by Tears for Fears.
There we go. I don't actually believe the monarchy rules with the iron fist. Don't come for me, internet. That was just an example. I don't really know much about the monarchy. I'm American.
They have castles and stuff. I think that's all you need to know.
I don't know. Tim told me what you have to pay him a special tax, and I was like, "What?"
Well, it comes out of general tax. You don't get your check, and it's just like so you know this and national insurance contributions and government taxes, and there's not like royalty surcharge. It doesn't show us a separate line item.
I was just like, what? This is why we threw all that tea in the harbor. I didn't want to pay whatever that is. I don't know. What did you call it? You said there's like a fee you pay every year for the monarchy.
No, not really. It comes out of general taxation.
Maybe we should say general taxation.
It's called the civil list. So
that's what you called it.
So the government pays a salary effectively to various royal peoples, and for the upkeep of their palaces and all the other stuff that they do or may not do.
All the events or whatever.
Yeah, depending on your point of view of it. But it's called the civil list. But I mean, as I said, you don't get your paycheck, and it's like withholding and national insurance contributions and then civil list contribution. It doesn't say that.
That's what I imagined. I thought it was like on your deduction sheet. This one comes to the monarchy. I'd be like. My lack of knowledge on what the royal family does is about this big, guys. This is what I know. If it's not about Princess Diana, I've never heard of it. All right. So now that Tim has discovered the royals do not rule with an iron fist, and Joy does not believe that, please don't come for her hardcore monarchy pro. What are they called in the UK? Whenever
monarchists.
Is that really what they're called?
Yeah, if you're super into the monarchy, you'd be a monarchist.
Oh, like a patriot?
Yeah, that kind of thing. And like I said, if you're a British person who's not super into that and thinks it should be abolished, you typically would be referred to as a Republican.
Huh. I would have never thought that. All right. Well, now we all know, guys. What else do you have for the people, Tim?
Just be extra kind to everyone you meet and be super extra kind to all your pets that you love.
All right. Bye.